The Velar Dominion had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They had conquered 37 different species. They had won every war they ever fought. Their ships were the fastest. Their weapons were the strongest. Their soldiers were the bravest. No one in the known universe could stand against them. So, when their long-range sensors found a new species on the edge of the galaxy, they did what they always did. They sent their best people to study them, learn their weaknesses, find the easiest way to conquer them. Fleet Commander Doyen sat in his chair on the great warship called Thunder of Victory. He was old for his kind, with gray scales covering his long body and tired eyes that had seen 100 worlds fall. He looked at the blue and green planets spinning slowly on his display screen. Humans, he said the word slowly. That is what they call themselves. Senior Analyst Tova stood before him. She was younger, with bright purple scales and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had studied 12 species before this one. Each time, she had found the weakness that led to their defeat. Yes, Commander, she said. They achieved faster than light travel only 200 years ago. They have a small fleet, perhaps 300 ships. Their weapons are basic. Their shields are weak. Diane made a sound like laughing. This should be easy then. I give you 1 cycle to complete your study. Find their weakness. Tell me how to break them. Tova bowed her long head. It will be done, Commander. Perhaps even faster. They seem like a simple species. She walked through the long metal halls of the ship until she reached the analysis chamber. Her team was already waiting. 12 of the best minds in the Dominion, each one an expert in their field. Ren was there. She was the weapons expert. She knew every gun, every bomb, every ship that had ever been built by any species. Her job was to study what the humans could fight with. Lyra was there too. She studied minds. She learned how species thought, what they feared, what made them give up. Her job was to find out how to break the human spirit. And Kale was there. He was the historian. He studied the past of every species they conquered. His job was to learn where the humans came from and how they became what they were. Sit down, everyone, Tova said. We have work to do. The room came alive with light. Screens floated in the air all around them. Data streams poured in from the probes they had sent to the human homeworld. Text, images, sounds, videos. Everything the humans had ever recorded about themselves. We start with their history, Tova said. Kale, what do we know? Kale touched a screen and brought up his findings. Their planet is called Earth. It is mostly water. They have been keeping records of their past for about 6,000 years. Ren looked confused. 6,000 years? But they only reached space 200 years ago. What were they doing for the other 5,800 years? Living on their planet, Kale said. Growing food? Building cities? Fighting? Fighting who? Lyra asked. Did they have another intelligent species on their world? Kale shook his head slowly. No, just them. They were fighting each other. The room went quiet. Everyone looked at each other. Each other? Tova repeated. You mean like small fights? Arguments between neighbors? No, Kale said. He pulled up more data. Wars. Big wars. Very big wars. They have been fighting themselves since before they learned to write. They wrote about their wars. They painted pictures of their wars. They sang songs about their wars. Tova felt something cold move through her body. She had studied 12 species. None of them had fought themselves this much before reaching space. Usually, a species that fought itself too much destroyed itself before it could travel to the stars. But the humans were still here. Still alive. Still fighting. How many wars? She asked. Kale looked at his screen. I am still counting. There are many, very many. Ren leaned forward. What kind of weapons did they use? In the beginning, simple things. Sharp rocks, pointed sticks, then metal swords, then guns that shot metal balls, then bigger guns, then bombs, then very big bombs. How big? Kale was quiet for a moment. Big enough to destroy a whole city in one flash of light. No one spoke. The idea was too big to hold in their minds. A species that built weapons to destroy their own cities. That used those weapons on their own kind. Commander Doyen said this would be easy, Lyra said quietly. I am starting to think he was wrong. Tova stared at the blue planet on the screen. It looked so peaceful from far away. So calm. But she was beginning to understand that this peace was just a thin cover over something else. Something old and dark and hungry. We continue the study, she said. We learn everything. We leave nothing out. She did not know it then, but this was the moment everything changed. This was the moment when a simple assignment became something much more. Something that would shake the foundations of the Vilar Dominion itself. The humans had been fighting for 6,000 years. The Dominion had never faced anything like them. And deep in her heart, Tova was beginning to feel something she had never felt before in her long career. She was beginning to feel afraid. 3 days passed. Tova did not sleep. Neither did her team. The analysis chamber had become a dark place. Screens glowed everywhere with terrible information. Numbers that made no sense. Stories that seemed impossible. A history written in blood and fire that went back thousands of years. Tova called her team together. They sat in a circle, their faces tired and pale. Some of them had stopped eating. Others could not stop their hands from shaking. Report, Tova said. Her voice was rough from too much talking and not enough rest. Kale went first. The old historian looked like he had aged 10 years in 3 days. His hands trembled as he pulled up his data. I have counted their wars, he said. I stopped at 800. 800 wars over 6,000 years. Commander Doyen's voice came through the communication screen. He had demanded updates every few hours. Using demanded updates every few hours. His face looked calm, but Tova could see doubt growing in his eyes. No, Commander, Kale said. 800 wars in their last 500 years alone. Before that, there were so many that I could not count them all. They fought over land. They fought over water. They fought over gold. They fought over ideas. They fought over which gods to believe in. They fought because their grandfathers had fought. Sometimes they fought for no reason at all. Doyen's face changed. The calm look disappeared. That cannot be right. Check your numbers again. I have checked them 12 times, Commander. The numbers are correct. Ren spoke next. The weapons expert had dark circles under her eyes. She held her data tablet like it was something dangerous. I have studied their weapons, she said. In the beginning, they killed each other with rocks and sticks. Then they made swords from metal. Then they made guns. Each new weapon was better at killing than the one before. She pulled up images on the screen. This is something they call a machine gun. It can fire hundreds of metal pieces every minute. They invented it about 150 years ago. In one battle, they used these guns against soldiers running across an open field. 20,000 humans died in one day. One single day, the room was silent. It gets worse, Ren continued. They did not stop using this tactic after that battle. They kept doing it. For 4 years. Millions died. The same way, running into gunfire. Over and over again. Doyen's voice was barely a whisper now. Why did they not stop? Neither side would give up. They would rather die than lose. Lyra stood up. The mind expert looked like she had not slept at all. Her eyes were red, and her voice shook as she spoke. I have studied how they think, she said. I have read their books and watched their stories. I have listened to their songs. Commander, I do not know how to explain what I found. Try, Doyen said. Lyra took a deep breath. When we conquer a species, they resist for a while. Then they see they cannot win. Then they surrender. This is normal. This is logical. Fighting a war you cannot win is foolish. She pulled up an image of a human face. An old man with tired eyes but a strong jaw. This human was a leader during a great war about 80 years ago. His people were about to be invaded. The enemy had more soldiers, more ships, more weapons. By all logic, his people should have surrendered. Did they? Doyen asked. No. Lyra played a recording. An old voice spoke words that made no sense to any of them. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. The voice stopped. Lyra looked at the screen where Doyen watched. His people cheered when he said this, Commander. They cheered for the chance to die fighting. They saw surrender as worse than death. They saw losing as worse than having no one left alive. Doyen was quiet for a long time. What happened? He finally asked. Did they all die? No. They won. Somehow, against all logic, against all odds, they won. And after they won, they helped rebuild the countries that had tried to destroy them. Kale added more information. We found a war they call World War II. In this single war, 70 million humans died. 70 million. In just 6 years. 70 million, Doyen repeated slowly. That is the entire population of our home world. Yes, Commander. And when it ended, they did not rest. They immediately began building new weapons. Bigger weapons. Weapons that could destroy whole cities in seconds. Weapons that could kill millions at once. Tova spoke for the first time in hours. They pointed these weapons at each other, Commander. For 50 years, two groups of humans aimed these city-killing weapons at each other. Every day, ready to fire. Knowing that if one side fired, everyone would die. That is insane, Doyen said. Yes, Tova agreed. It is. They know it is. They call this time period MAD. It stands for Mutually Assured Destruction. They made up a name for pointing death at each other and calling it peace. The communication screen flickered. Doyen looked old now. Old and scared. Continue your study, he said quietly. I need to know everything. The screen went dark. Tova looked at her team. 12 brilliant minds, all of them broken by what they had learned. All of them afraid of a species that was supposed to be easy to conquer. We keep working, she said. We are not done yet. She wished she could believe that knowing more would make things better. But deep inside, she knew the truth. The more they learned about humans, the worse it would get. By the second week, Tova asked for more help. 10 new analysts joined her team. By the third week, she asked for doctors. Not for sick bodies, but for sick minds. Her people were breaking down from what they were learning. Young analyst Bora had stopped speaking 3 days ago. She just sat in the corner and stared at the wall. The doctors said she was in shock. Too much horror had filled her mind, and now it had shut down to protect itself. But Tova could not stop. The High Council demanded answers. Commander Doyen demanded answers. The whole Dominion needed to know what they were facing, so they kept studying. And what they found was worse than anything before. Tell me about their tactics, Doyen said through the screen. His scales had turned gray with worry. He looked like he had not slept in weeks. Tova nodded to Kale. The historian pulled up old records from human history. There's a battle from very long ago, Kale said. A place called Thermopylae. 300 human soldiers stood in a narrow mountain pass. They faced an army of more than 100,000 enemies. 100,000 against 300? Doyen asked. That is not a battle. That is a slaughter. Yes, Commander. The 300 knew they would die. There was no chance of winning. No hope of escape. No reinforcements coming to save them. So they surrendered? No, they fought. For 3 days, 300 humans held back 100,000 enemies. They killed thousands before they fell. Every single one of them died fighting. Doyen was silent. Then he asked a question that had no good answer. Why? What did they gain? They all died anyway. They gained time for their people to prepare. But more than that, Commander, they gained glory. Their names are still remembered 3,000 years later. Humans tell stories about them to their children. They made movies about them. They sing songs about them. 300 men who chose death over retreat. Ren stepped forward with more terrible news. It is not just old history, Commander. Look at this. She showed pictures from a war about 100 years ago. 2 long lines of holes in the ground, facing each other across a muddy field. They call this trench warfare. 2 armies dug holes in the ground. Then they sat in those holes and shot at each other. For 4 years. 4 years in the hole? Yes, and every few weeks, one side would order their soldiers to climb out of the holes and run across the open ground toward the enemy. Run into gunfire? Yes, thousands would die every time. Then the survivors would climb back into their holes. Then the other side would do the same thing. Back and forth. For 4 years. The same piece of ground was fought over again and again. Millions died trying to take a field smaller than this ship. Doyen looked like he might be sick. What was the point? What did they gain? Nothing, Commander. Neither side could win. Neither side would give up. They just kept killing each other because stopping felt like losing. Lyra came forward. She had been crying. Tear stains marked her face. I found something worse, she said quietly. Something about how they train their soldiers. Tell me. They teach their soldiers to run toward danger. Not away from it. Toward it. They call it bravery. They give prizes to soldiers who risk their lives. The highest honors go to those who died saving others. She showed a video of human soldiers training. Young humans running, climbing, fighting. Their trainers screamed at them, pushed them, broke them down, and built them back up. They remove fear, Commander. They train their people until death does not scare them anymore. Until following orders matters more than staying alive. Until the group matters more than the self. Every species values its own life, Doyen said. That is basic survival. Not humans. Humans can turn off that value. They can choose to die for ideas. For people they love. For people they have never met. A human soldier will throw himself on a bomb to save strangers. They do this often enough that they have special medals for it. The room felt cold. Everyone was quiet. Tova spoke slowly. Commander, we have conquered 37 species. Every single one of them valued survival above all else. When death was certain, they surrendered. When the cost was too high, they negotiated. That is rational. That is logical. She paused. Humans are not rational about war. They do not calculate cost and benefit the way we do. They have something else driving them. Something we do not have. Something we do not understand. What is it? Doyen asked. Tova thought for a long time before answering. They call it many things. Honor, pride, duty, love. I do not think we have words for it in our language. But it makes them do things that no logical mind would do. It makes them fight when fighting is foolish. It makes them die when dying gains nothing. It makes them keep going when any sane species would stop. She looked directly at the screen. Commander, we have never faced an enemy like this. We have always won because our enemies knew when to quit. Humans do not quit. They do not know how. It is not in them. Doyen's face was pale now. The confident commander who had started this mission was gone. In his place was someone who was beginning to understand a terrible truth. The Velar Dominion had never lost a war, but they had also never fought humans. "Continue your study," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. "I need to know more." The screen went dark. Tova turned to her team. Some were crying. Some were staring at nothing. All of them were changed forever by what they had learned. She did not know what to tell them, so she said nothing at all. Tova stood before the High Council of the Velar Dominion. 12 of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy looked down at her from their tall chairs. They ruled over 1,000 worlds. They commanded 1,000,000 ships. They had crushed every enemy they ever faced. Now they would learn about humans. "Thank you for seeing me," Tova said. Her voice echoed in the great hall. "What I have to tell you will change everything." Council Elder Hyan raised one wrinkled hand. "We have read your reports, Analyst. The human love of war is troubling. But we have faced brave enemies before. Bravery alone does not win wars. Technology wins wars. Strategy wins wars. We have both. With respect, Elder, you have not seen everything yet." Tova touched her datapad. The air filled with floating images. Ships and weapons and machines of war stretched across the great hall. Humans have a saying: necessity is the mother of invention. It means that when they need something, they create it. They are very good at creating things, especially things that kill. She pointed to the first image. A massive ship floating on water. This is called an aircraft carrier. It is a floating city that carries smaller flying ships. Humans built these because their planet is mostly water. They needed a way to fight anywhere on their world. So they built moving war bases that could cross any ocean. She pointed to the next image. A dark shape under the waves. This is called a submarine. It hides under the water where no one can see it. It carries weapons that can destroy entire cities. Humans have hundreds of these hiding in their oceans right now. Silent, waiting, ready to kill millions at the push of a button. Elder Day leaned forward. Impressive for a primitive species. But our sensors could find these vessels easily. Perhaps, Elder, but that is not the point. The point is how fast they built them. Tova changed the images. A timeline appeared showing human weapons through history. 1,000 years ago, humans fought with swords and arrows. 500 years ago, they had simple guns that could fire one shot at a time. 200 years ago, they had machines that could fire hundreds of shots per minute. 100 years ago, they had weapons that could destroy a whole city. She let that sink in. Every time they went to war, they came out with better weapons. Every single time. War makes them smarter. War makes them more creative. War pushes them to invent things that would take other species thousands of years to develop. She showed a new image. A bright flash of light over a city. This is what they call a nuclear bomb. They invented it in less than 5 years because they were fighting a great war and needed a weapon to end it fast. The same science that powers this bomb now powers their spaceships. They turned death into travel. Elder Hyan's face was troubled now. "You are saying they innovate during conflict?" "Yes, Elder, but more than that. Their greatest advances come from war. Their flying machines were built for fighting. Their communication networks were built for their military. Their medicine got better because they needed to save wounded soldiers. Even the system they used to share information across their whole planet started as a war project." She pulled up more data. In peacetime, humans improve slowly like other species. But in wartime, they change fast. Very fast. Faster than any species we have ever seen. Every war ends with them stronger than before. Every defeat teaches them something new. Every victory gives them confidence to reach higher. Council Member Day spoke up. What is their current military strength? Tova paused. This was the hardest part. We do not know, Elder. That is the problem. Humans have been mostly at peace for several decades. They fight small wars, but nothing like their great wars of the past. We can see their current ships and weapons. We can count their soldiers. But we cannot predict what they would create if they faced a real threat. What do you mean? I mean, if we attack them, they will not just fight with what they have. They will build new things. Better things. Things we cannot imagine. Because that is what they do. That is what they have always done. She showed one final image. A graph line going up and up and up. This shows human weapon development over time. See how the line goes up faster and faster? Now imagine what happens if we give them a reason to move even faster. A real enemy. An enemy from the stars. An enemy threatening their whole species. The hall was very quiet. Humans have never united against an outside threat before. They have always fought each other. But our studies show that when humans face a common enemy, they stop fighting among themselves. They work together. They share ideas. They combine their strength. Tova's voice dropped low. Right now, humans are divided into many groups that compete with each other. If we attack them, we will give them something they have never had. A reason to become one people. One army. One mind focused on one goal. Survival, Elder Hyan whispered. No, Elder. Not just survival. Victory. Humans do not fight to survive. They fight to win. And they will throw everything they have at us until one side is completely destroyed. The council members looked at each other. For the first time in 10,000 years, Tova saw something in their eyes that she had never seen before. She saw doubt. She saw fear. I have more to tell you, she said, about what we should do. But that will require another meeting. Elder Han nodded slowly. Yes, we will need time to think about what you have told us. The council will meet again tomorrow. Tova bowed and walked out of the great hall. Behind her, the most powerful leaders in the galaxy sat in silence, trying to understand how a small blue planet on the edge of nowhere had become the most terrifying thing they had ever faced. Fleet Commander Doyen stood before the High Council for the last time. His uniform was perfect. His scales were polished, but his eyes told a different story. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much and understood too well. His resignation letter had been sent that morning. He was not alone. 17 senior military commanders had quit the same day. 30 more would quit by the end of the week. Before I leave my position, Doyen said, I must present the final report. Senior Analyst Tova will speak. Tova walked to the center of the Great Hall. Her team had been given rest time to recover from what they called existential crisis disorder, a fancy name for being too scared to function. She was the only one still able to stand and speak. Honored Council, she began. After 40 days of study, we have reached our conclusions. She pressed a button. The blue and green planet appeared floating in the air above them all. It looked so peaceful, so small, so harmless. The humans are not stronger than us. They are not smarter than us. Their ships are slower. Their weapons are weaker. Their shields are thinner. By every measurement we use, the Velar Dominion should conquer them easily. She paused. However, that single word hung in the air like a death sentence. In 10,000 years of conquest, we have never met a species like humans. We fight to expand our territory. We fight to gather resources. We fight because we want things. When the cost becomes too high, we stop fighting. We negotiate. We make deals. That is the logical way to do things. Humans do not think this way. To them, war is not just a tool. It is part of who they are. It flows through their history like blood flows through their bodies. They write songs about war. They tell stories of great battles to their children at night. They build giant statues to honor their dead warriors. Then they go and create more dead warriors to honor with more statues. Elder Hyan raised his hand. All warrior species honor their dead. That is not unique. With respect, Elder, you do not understand. Other species honor the dead because they wish they had not died. Humans honor the dead because they died fighting. The dying is the honor. The sacrifice is the glory. They believe that dying for something you love is the highest thing a person can do. She showed images of human war memorials. Giant walls covered with names. Flames that never went out. Soldiers standing guard in all weather, day and night, year after year. They remember every single one. Not just the generals. Not just the heroes. Every soldier who died gets their name carved in stone. Forever. Council Member Day spoke impatiently. This is interesting but not useful. Tell us how to defeat them. Tova looked at him for a long moment. Elder Day, that is what I am trying to explain. We cannot defeat them. Not in any way that matters. The hall exploded with angry voices. Council members shouted. Guards stepped forward. For a moment, chaos ruled. Elder Hyan raised his hand and the noise stopped. Explain yourself, analyst. The Dominion has never lost a war. And we would not lose this one either, Tova said calmly. Not in the beginning. Our fleet would crush their fleet. Our soldiers would land on their planet. We would win battle after battle. Then, what is the problem? The problem is what comes after. Humans will not surrender just because they are losing. They will keep fighting. From their cities. From their forests. From their mountains and caves and holes in the ground. They will make weapons from anything they can find. They will train their children to fight. They will send their old people to die attacking our camps. Every human will become a soldier. She pulled up historical records. We found many examples of this. When a larger force invaded human lands, the humans sometimes lost their armies, but kept fighting anyway. They hid in the shadows. They attacked at night. They turned every street into a battlefield. Sometimes they fought for decades. Sometimes they fought for generations. They taught their grandchildren to hate the invaders and keep fighting. We would simply kill them all then, Elder Day said coldly. Yes, Elder, we would have to. All 8 billion of them. Every man. Every woman. Every child. Because if we leave even a few alive, they will rebuild. They will remember. They will come for revenge. She let that number sink in. 8 billion. More people than the Dominion had soldiers. And while we are killing them, they will be killing us. They will find ways. They always find ways. They will study our weapons and build their own versions. They will learn our tactics and create counters. They will sacrifice millions of their own people just to kill thousands of ours. Because that is what they do. That is what they have always done. The hall was silent now. Even Elder Day had nothing to say. I have one more thing to show you, Tova said. Something that will explain everything. She played a recording. A human child, maybe 7 years old, sitting with an older human. Tell me the story again, Grandpa, the child said. Which one? The old human asked. The one about the soldiers who never gave up. The ones who fought even when they knew they would lose. The old human smiled. Ah, that is a good story. Let me tell you about heroes. Tova stopped the recording. They teach this to their children, elders. From the time they are small, humans learn that fighting is good. That dying for something you love is beautiful. That giving up is the worst thing a person can do. By the time they are grown, this belief is part of their soul. You cannot remove it. You cannot break it. You can only kill them or leave them alone. She stepped back. My recommendation is simple. Do not attack the humans. Do not threaten them. Do not give them any reason to see us as enemies. Instead, send diplomats. Offer friendship. Trade with them. Let them be our allies instead of our victims. Elder Hyam leaned forward. You want us to befriend them? After everything you have told us about how dangerous they are? Tova nodded slowly. Yes, Elder, because they are dangerous. The most dangerous species we have ever found. And I would rather have them fighting beside us than against us. She looked at each council member in turn, because humans are terrifying as enemies. But I believe they could be wonderful as friends. They protect what they love with everything they have. If we become something they love, they will protect us too. The council was quiet for a long time. Finally, Elder Hine spoke. We will consider your words carefully, analyst. You may go. Tova bowed and walked away. She did not know what the council would decide. She did not know if they would listen, but as she left the great hall, she allowed herself a small hope that maybe, just maybe, the Dominion would learn something that humans had known all along. Sometimes, the best way to win is not to fight at all. And 50 years later, when the Velar Dominion and the Human Alliance signed their great friendship treaty, Tova was there to watch. She was old now. Her scales had turned gray, but she smiled as she watched humans and her people shake hands and promise to stand together forever. The humans had a saying for this. Moment. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. But Tova thought of a better one. Sometimes the friend you fear becomes the friend you need. And that was the best ending of all.